Countdown. 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. I'll call the Kaneohe County Health and Human Services Committee to order. I welcome everybody here today. I think we're going to talk a lot about contracts, as I understand it. But before we do that, we have some minutes to adopt from the previous meeting. You received them in your packet. We have a motion to approve the minutes. The second by Corky. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are you, so, I put your name in the wrong spot here, Jenny. Sorry about that. So Deb Grunwald's going to kick off this contracts meeting. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Morning. Good morning. Good
My
morning.
name is Deb Grunwald, and I'm a supervisor at Kaneohe County Health and Human Services in the financial area. And I supervise the eligibility workers who determine the eligibility for our public assistance programs. And so thank you for letting us come this morning. It may seem like a duplicate, but we were here last month to present the biennial service agreement, which is kind of a precursor to this joint powers agreement between Kaneohe County Health and Human Services and Minnesota DEED, which for us is the Wilmer Career Force Center. This joint powers agreement is for MFIP, Minnesota Family Investment Program, and the DWP, the Diversionary Work Program. And this joint powers agreement is between our agency, Kaneohe County, and the Wilmer Career Force Center, and they provide the services for the programs for MFIP and DWP. Just a couple of highlights. This is a one-year contract, and it runs from January 1st to December 31st of 2022, and so we come before you so we can get that approved before the year starts. And as I said, the funding is for MFIP and DWP only. The SNAP program, the food program, that has a separate contract, and that's always done about October. Kind of just some general highlights of this. I'll go over a little bit, and then Melissa and Joan are here from the Career Force Center, and they'll talk a little bit. The payments are for MFIP and DWP only, as I had mentioned, and the joint powers agreement was put in your box earlier, so if you've had a chance to look at that. Some of the language is very legal and contractual, and ensures that we adhere to data privacy, HIPAA protocols, and civil rights laws. And the payments for the MFIP DWP program to Minnesota DEED will not exceed the $658,000 that is listed in the joint powers agreement. They do have a couple of different amounts split out between DWP and MFIP, but the funds can be transferred between the two programs as needed. So that's kind of a general overview of the contract. You do have it in front of you. Do you have any questions before Melissa or Joan speaks to the joint powers agreement?
Board members, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Deb, so who are the participants? What circumstances bring them to this program?
A variety of situations. It can be family, they have to have minor children in these programs. The DWP program is kind of a quick 4-month program to kind of get someone jump-started if they, just to try to overcome some barriers. And that's a 4-month program that kind of gets them started. And if they aren't successful in finding employment in 4 months, then they can be moved to the MFIP program. Now, the MFIP program has a 60-month lifetime limit for most people, unless they have some sort of an exception that we can extend that. So 5 years maximum. The MFIP program is also a work program, and some people are not employed on MFIP, but they do work with some job counselors in the Career Force Center to help eliminate some of those barriers to get them back to work. Or if there's some disabilities, we try to help them apply for Social Security disability and things like that to move them off the program. And some of the MFIP participants, the adults, they are working, but they're not working enough, or they don't get paid enough to meet the standards.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Berg.
Yes, a question. It looks like a big jump in the amount of money. Can you explain that? It looks like a positive thing, of course.
I don't have an explanation on why the big jump, it's just what we get allocated,
That's terrific.
so it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the same notes about a 15% increase, and I wondered if it's possibly due to the current workforce issues, COVID,
Yep.
CARES, ARP, all of that.
It certainly could, and maybe Melissa and Joan have some better understanding of that, but some of the money that we get in 2020, of course, wasn't used as much as it normally would be because we could only provide a certain amount of services virtually, with the offices closed and things, so. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Melissa, are you going to add to that?
Good morning, Melissa Ball-Warner, Career Force Wilmer. Thank you for having me today. Were there any questions just right off the top, just to piggyback off of Deb? No. All right. So thank you for having us. Thank you for the continued services for the MFIB, DWP, and SNAP programs. We have had an established relationship with the county. Deb and Leah and I, we meet monthly, sometimes weekly. The staff and I talk almost daily. So it's really important to establish that relationship with the county and the workers just so we can ensure that we are helping the individuals as best as we can. So far for 2021, with COVID and everything, we served a total of 487 MFIB individuals. We have only served 12 households for DWP, and that's because the DWP program just was reestablished again September 1st. So as of September 1st, we have 12 DWP individuals enrolled, actively working, and that is a very intense program where it's daily communication with the participants until they can find employment or until they go into a training program. So we have individuals in our training programs right now, which is through our Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. So we are a collaborative program to try and ensure that the individuals that we serve, that we're serving to our best ability, which also includes during COVID, prior to COVID, we did not have the equipment needed to go and serve the clients where they were at. And so because of COVID, we were allowed to get mobile equipment. So during COVID, even though our offices were closed, we were able to go and serve our clients where they were. So we were able to meet at parks. And if they had households with children, then like youth children, a lot of the child care centers were closed. So it was a great place to meet at the park. So the children could play. We could discuss the case without having the children necessarily hear everything that we were discussing. We've met at restaurants and retail centers. We've met at their homes. So prior to COVID, we weren't necessarily even, it wasn't an option to serve them where they were. And so we're really grateful that we're able to do that, leave the building, go to where they are. Transportation in rural Minnesota is an issue. More so during COVID because a lot of the individuals, if they didn't have childcare, it's hard to take the CAT bus. And so we just feel very fortunate for the services that we're able to provide. In addition, since transportation is such an issue out here, I know everyone's like, oh, we always talk about the negatives, like, oh, how hard it is to serve these clients. But right now, because of COVID and because we had a great turnout of individuals who participated with us through everything, the waivers where they weren't required to work with us, we had a large amount of individuals who actually participated with us when it wasn't a requirement. And because of that, we were able to issue through UCAP, we partner with UCAP, 4 participants in Kansas County received a vehicle. And there's a lot of criteria they have to meet in order to get in line. And UCAP shares those vehicles amongst multiple counties. So the fact that Kansas County was awarded 4 vehicles, that's a pretty big deal this year during COVID, when unemployment numbers were high and a lot of individuals benefited more from staying on unemployment with the stipends and everything. But those individuals who earned those vehicles, they worked extremely hard. And we're very proud of the candidates that we have who participate. And through COVID, we had 50 actually get off of programs altogether because of employment. So we had multiple ones get off of programs because they were over income with the unemployment. But the 50 that got off for employment, they earned a wage that was sustainable to get off of programs and remain employed. And we still hear from multiple ones this morning. This morning I got a call from one that I was like, I have to go, I have a county meeting. But she's like, I want you to know that everything's going well. And I was like, it's just nice to get a phone call. Like, it's a great phone call. We hear a lot of negatives from individuals and we work with them usually during the worst times that they're going through. So we feel very blessed that we get a phone call that's just something saying they're good, They appreciate the services, they appreciate the support, and it just makes the community stronger. So, yeah, we're very appreciative. Any questions?
Yeah, any questions? I have a question regarding, you talked about providing training.
Correct.
And of course, there's a lot of needs out there, trucking, welding, you name it.
Yes.
There's a lot of needs out there. What kind of training are you able to provide, or do you contract that out to, say, Ridgewater or
Right.
someone else?
So we are partnered with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, and they're the agency that provides most of the training. Our agency can send individuals if they want to be a TMA, if they want to be a CNA, if they want to do truck driving courses at Ridgewater College. Those are the things that we can do. Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, and it's all eligibility based. So individuals can be eligible for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training programs, and they don't necessarily have to be on our programs. So we share this information with the universal customer as well. But right now, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, they're really pushing CDL. So they have a CDL, they have a Women on the Move grant, which is for manufacturing, women who meet certain criteria, and they really need to fill that this year. So the individuals, if you know anyone who meets criteria and they want to work in manufacturing, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training has a program right now where they can enroll them right now, pay for the services right now through Ridgewater Customized Training, and then the individual doesn't necessarily have to start the training until next year, but it's like a use or lose. So we're really trying to push this program for women on the move in manufacturing. It's an online course, except for the forklift training is in person at Ridgewater College. But it's almost like a 90% rate you're going to get employment like immediately after you are done with this training. And so Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, they can help with other services when they're with this program. So job placement at the end, and we're partnered with them, so we help right alongside their program. Then they have another program right now that we just kind of discussed this week, dealing with the opioid crisis. So if anyone has struggled with opioid use, if anyone wants to assist individuals with overcoming substance abuse, and if anyone was, like if you're a partner, you're in the household of someone who had a substance abuse issue, then there's services with this grant that can provide workforce development for them. So we're pushing these two programs right now. So if you know anyone who wants training.
So a quick follow-up, using the example of the CDL,
Yes.
does CMJT actually have?
They're partnered with Customized Training at Ridgewater.
Okay, that was my question, because
It's a great collaboration.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate.
Joan, maybe you want to elaborate?
Yeah, I can just say too, and thank you for the questions about training. And training.
Maybe go up to the podium and state your name and who you represent.
The cameras don't pick it up.
Right.
Yes, Joan Burning with Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, regional manager for this area. And with, what Melissa was talking about is our relationship with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. They have funding through the WIOA, Workforce and Investment Opportunity Act. And so with those funds, we can co-enroll individuals. So it's a great partnership and collaboration where we don't have the funds to do all the education, where they do. So we have all the co-location or coordination with that, so we can help our individuals succeed even more with their fundings and have that partnership. And we've been doing that for years.
Sure.
And the CDL is then paid through the WIOA funding.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? If not, with all the contracts we have, we better keep moving on these. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for
Have a great
coming
day.
in.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
so-
I'm sorry.
We need a motion.
I'd
and a
entertain
second to
a motion
approve.
to approve the agreement.
I will make that motion.
Commissioner Nissen moves, Commissioner Gardner seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Now we have a cancellation of a dated warrant, stale dated warrant, it's called, and Jenny explained that this is a little different than a lot of the warrants we typically cancel.
Yes, it
Ms.
is. Good morning, Jenny Lippert, Health and Human Services Director. So usually Carol Tollefson, our fiscal supervisor, would come before you every year to ask for approval to cancel any stale dated warrants. So we get a list every year from Karen Anderson downtown. And our fiscal staff would contact all of these individuals who have outdated warrants, and we try to get a hold of them. We usually are pretty successful, and individuals are able to come back in and get their current warrant. However, there usually are a couple that we cannot locate. So this year, we only have one outstanding warrant that we need to have canceled. And per our warrant instructions, it states that we should void these warrants 6 months after the check date. So that's why I'm here before you to ask for approval to cancel this one outstanding warrant.
I'll move that we can cancel
Commissioner
that one. It's
Henderson moves to cancel
$4.67.
the warrant. You get the award for the biggest cost savings in the county.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Nissen seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, West Central Interpreting Services and the contract.
Yes. So our agency uses different interpreting services in a multitude of ways and capacities. We have 2 local contracts with our interpreting providers in our area. One is West Central Interpreting Services, and the other is Somali Connection. We are looking to renew both of these contracts for the 2022 year. And for this next year, we are looking at having no changes from the prior year. So the contract would remain the same. Again, the information has been put into your iCompass document center. But again, no rates are changing from last year to this year.
2 separate contracts or one contract?
2 separate
So we'll do
contracts.
2
So I
motions,
need
one on
2
each one?
motions, one for West Central Interpreting and one for Somali Connection, please.
Mr. Chair, I
Mr.
move approval of the 2022 contract for West Central Interpreting Services.
And do I hear a second?
I'll
Commissioner
second it.
Berg seconds. Any discussion? Are they, seems to me that one serves one set of languages and one serves another, or is that
No,
not necessarily the case?
West Central Interpreting does have more languages that are offered, but we do use Somali Connection too. Sometimes it depends on the individual that we're serving, if they have a preference, and we also have an online interpreting service that we use, so, yeah.
My question would be, Mr. Chair, do you get more than one bid or quote from people, or are there not very many choices?
Yeah, so we contact both of these individuals. Locally, these are the only 2 interpreting services that have come to us that are interested in providing services for the county. We also utilize Arch Language Line. That's more of a statewide program organization. However, we're able to utilize a state contract to get the state contract prices, so we do not need to bring it forward into a separate contract. So really, these are the 2 local contracts that we work with.
All right, thank you.
Any questions about the West Central contract? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Similarly, Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the 2022 Somali Connection LLC Interpreting
Mr. Gardner
Services
moves on
contract.
The second, and
I will
Commissioner
second that.
Nissen- Or Commissioner Nissen seconds. Any discussion?
Just, Mr. Chair, just a quick question. The funding for these, where does that come from?
So we are able to get some FFP just for us being a social service agency, but otherwise we eat the costs as,
okay,
levy
part of
dollars.
the
Yeah, we don't get
levy
any
budget, okay.
funding, no.
Jenny, for the public, what is FFP?
Federal financial participation.
Okay.
So again, we get reimbursement from the federal, because we have contracts.
That's what I thought, but, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Woodland Centers.
So the last contract I'm here to present this morning is for our Woodland Center's Purchase of Service General Participation Contract. So under state statute, each county is responsible for using all available resources to develop and coordinate a system of locally available and affordable mental health services. So in Kandiyohi County, we have had a long-standing partnership with Woodland Centers to provide many of these needed services for those within our county. Today, again, I'm here to present the 2022 2, Woodland Center's general participation agreement. Woodland Centers provides adult and youth crisis stabilization, substance use detoxification. And for this next year, Woodland Centers is proposing a 1% increase to our general contract. And again, you have this in your board packets, and it's detailed out with all the different services and the prices for each service. And I also know Commissioner Nissen sits on the Woodland Centers board too.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we adopt that agreement.
Commissioner Nissen moves on the agreement with Woodland Centers. Do I hear a 2nd?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Any other any discussion or question? Commissioner Burton.
Just a comment, 1% increase is, considering nowadays, very reasonable. That's for sure. So hopefully they can still provide the services. They do an excellent job. And thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we have a contract to consider.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello.
Good morning.
The first thing that I have up is the Woodland Center's family-based services and intensive on family-based services. And these contracts are separate from the general participation contract that Jenny just presented. What in-home services are for is families that we're working with, whether that's in the child protection, child welfare area, or in the children's mental health case management area. In-home services are services that we utilize through Woodlands, through our contract with Woodlands, where they're providing staff who go into the home and work with the family. We have like 2 levels, if you will. We have the intensive therapeutic, and that is a therapist who is going into the home and working on the counseling, working on the therapeutic components with that family, whether that's the concept is to work with the whole family. There may be some cases where they're identifying a particular child that they're spending more time on. And so that's the intensive family-based concept, where that's truly a therapeutic service that we're providing. Then the in-home skills, that's much more about working with the family, whether that's working with the parent on parenting skills or that's working with a child within the family on some maybe social skills, on how to decrease anxiety, a wide variety of independent maybe living skills, some of those sort of things. It's really based on what the needs of a particular family is, and goals are set to address those needs. In this contract, so these are separate contracts that Candioi County does with Woodland Centers, and that is, the contract lays out a rate for the therapist level and then a rate for the skills level. As you'll see in your packet, there is quite an increase for 2022. Some of this is brought about, Dr. Chose was here a month or so ago and talked with you about changes that are coming with Woodland based on their becoming a certified community behavioral health center. Some of the requirements of that, there's a wide variety of requirements, and is that they have to be able to do a wage assessment, those sort of things. And in doing that, they really have found that, and we knew that Woodland Centers really their staff rate is low. And some of that, obviously, as Dr. Chose talked about, is the reimbursement that they're able to get. So that is some of what we're seeing reflected in this change, is that they've needed to be able to increase those wages to be able to meet those requirements of the community behavioral health clinic, which then will allow them to also get the rate reimbursement that's going to come. That will be different with the change in the CCBH or CCBHC program changes as well. So that is some of why we're seeing such a major change in that. What we do with Woodland Centers, though, is they have to bill out any third-party possibility. So if there are some of the services that they're providing through in-home, they can bill out towards maybe medical assistance. They could bill out towards a PMAP or bill out to a private insurance. They're required to do that, and then they give us that reimbursement. And so these rates are set, but we are also getting reimbursement for some of these rates. You'll also see in a later contract that we have with the state that will also help offset some of these changes as well, which has gone on for a long time, that we're able to bill out some of the in-home services to that contract. So even though we're seeing quite a jump in it, when you look at it, our hope is that through reimbursement and through other contracts, we're going to be able to balance out that compared to other years.
Thank you.
Questions on that?
I would entertain a motion to accept the contract with Woodland Centers.
I so move to,
Commissioner Berg moves on the contract with Woodland Centers.
I'll second.
Commissioner Gardner seconds. Any questions or discussion? So about what percent are we reimbursed for?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I didn't figure it out.
You didn't? That's fine. That's
Sorry.
fine. That's just fine. You're right, that increase was pretty substantial.
Yes, yeah,
40% or something like that.
yeah.
Which is-
It
We had
is,
good news on the first one, but it wasn't as good a news.
yeah. I don't know if the
Didn't quite watch.
$4 is going to cover that on that.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Hearing none, I'll call the motion or call the vote for the contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Corinne. Oh, you have another one, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am up next. On the next contract that I have is with West Central Industries. And to kind of present from the beginning, what we have is, as you guys are aware, we are part of the Southwest 18 Adult Mental Health Consortium. And that the consortium is funded, a lot of what they do is funded from a state grant. And then what the consortium does is it supports on different programs. So some of that may go to our mental health providers throughout the Southwest 18. Also, some of what they do is they provide what we call discretionary funds to each of the counties. And that amount is based on population, those sort of things. So that what we utilize some of those discretionary funds for is to support employment with some of our mental health clients. This is on then what we take those discretionary funds, and we're doing this contract with West Central to be able to have them support the employment needs of some of our mental health clientele. And as you can see in the contract, there is supportive employment where they are going out with that consumer into the community, into a community-placed job, and being able to support that employment for them. Or there may be some, due to their level of needs, are supported within what they call a crew or within the center as well. And so there's those both levels of service that we can gain from that. Again, these costs are offsetted by that discretionary funds that we get from the Southwest Consortium. The rates in this is a 3% increase. Our last contract with them was 18 months, and now this will just be a year contract, and it's a 3% increase. Questions on that one?
I would entertain a motion for the contract with West Central Industries.
Oh,
Commissioner Berg moves. Commissioner Nissen seconds.
okay, either way.
Any questions? I turned that way first. Sorry, Raleigh. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just a quick comment. I also serve in the 18 County Mental Health Consortium Committee. Very good program, and I think it makes such a difference to the clientele. And budget-wise, it's a good deal for us, too.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign. Motion carries.
All right, then I think I sit for a
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you coming back? Well, you
Nice
are
job.
coming back. Amanda.
Good morning. I am Amanda Schoenhart, the ongoing child protection supervisor, and I am here to present on United Community Action Program and the Parent Support Outreach Program. Minnesota's Parent Support Outreach Program is a voluntary early intervention program that focuses on family strengths and needs and aims to help children and parents thrive. We utilize UCAP to assist with the program and provide an in-home parenting skills. These services are provided to clients in the home and in community or facilities. For 2022, our PSOP allocation decreased from $37,736 to $16,077. The reason for that decrease is with parent support outreach funds that are provided through the state, if you don't use them, you lose them. In Candy-Ojai County, in order to utilize the parent support outreach funds, you need to case plan with the family, and they have to do those services to utilize the funds. Other counties typically will just pay a bill for the family and not require them to do services. Really, the purpose of parent support outreach is to support and help prevent them from coming into the child protection system. And so that is why through the UCAP program, they are case planning and wanting to work with the family versus just paying a bill and having them move on. And so with that, it's harder to have some families want to engage in the service because they don't want to do services. So with that decrease, our allocation amount has been decreased. We had to look at decreasing our cap with UCAP from $179,000 to $150,000, but giving them an overall 2% increase to their hourly rate, which will be $53.61 an hour.
Go ahead, Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move approval of the United Action Community Partnership contract.
Mr. Gardner moves with the UCAP contract. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Any discussion? So I'm just I want to clarify or help me clarify. I think what I understood you to say is that some people just don't want the services or don't want to do what they have to do in order to receive the service.
Correct. In order to receive the funding, they have to create a case plan and have goals to work on. So it may be they need rental assistance. So then it might be looking at budgeting or how are they going to work on getting their bills caught up so that they don't have to use that service again. And they don't want to engage in those services to get the funding.
So sometimes applications are not worth the work.
Right.
And so,
Yes.
I've done that myself. So
Yep.
it's, the odds are low. Is it because they don't understand the process, or is it because they just are frustrated or just maybe unmotivated?
I think every person's different. Some people just don't want to do the work, or they don't want somebody coming into their home and giving them advice on how to parent or how to pay their bills or do things. And so they'd rather just get the money and move on, but that's not the goal of the service. Mm-hmm. And so that decrease comes, I think you just don't have families wanting to engage in that service.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. They also have a Lutheran Social Services grant contract to present.
Yes, we have the Lutheran Social Services Stay Grant, which is the Successful Transition to Adulthood for Youth program. These are federal funds, and they're allocated to Big Stone, Chippewa, Candy-Ojai, Lac-Qui-Parle, McLeod, Meeker, Renville, and Swift counties. We are the fiscal host for this grant, and the funding for 2022 is $127,000, which is an increase from 2021, which was $101,050. And these funds continue to help youth successfully transition into adulthood.
Thank you.
I'll move that contract.
Commissioner Nissen moves on the state contract. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Gardner seconds. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So we are down, Corinne's back up.
All right. The next contract that I have is a contract with the state contract with the Department of Human Services. And this contract is what we call the Children's Mental Health Screening Grant contract. When a case is open for child welfare or child protection, as well as community corrections through juvenile justice, are required to do a mental health screening on all of the children in the cases that we have. And then based on the outcome of that screening, we are then looking at what are the needs. So the kids are screened on a state-approved assessment tool. And then based on the outcome of that tool, then if it's what we call a positive outcome, then we are required to be able to move them on to other services. Is their mental health such that they need then to, maybe they need a diagnostic assessment to be able to determine what level of services they might need. Maybe is that's an individual therapy. Maybe that's the in-home services that we talked about before, some of those. But it is a requirement for us to do on each of our kids in those cases, and then based on the outcome of that assessment, to be able to refer them on to other services. To other services. So what this contract does from the state says, because you're doing this and based on the number of screenings that you've done, the previous 2 years is how they base that amount. And so based on that, then they determine what amount you're going to get for the upcoming year. So we have seen an increase from our 2021 to our 2022, which obviously is a positive thing. And that means that we're getting our screenings done and being able to get more funds then because of that. What we have in our contract, our budget at this point, is to cover the cost for the time that staff takes for the staff to do the screenings. Also some respite care funds to be able to provide respite for children that may need a break from their home or from their foster home, to be able to provide some respite services. And then also for family-based services. So like I talked about before in our Woodlands family-based contract, some of this funding is going to be able to offset on that cost based on the outcome of the screenings that happen with the children. So this contract is between our Candioi County and the Department of Human Services to receive these funds.
Commissioner Nissen.
I'll move that contract.
Commissioner Nissen moves on the contract with Health and Human Services.
And I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson seconds.
So the increase is because we're seeing more people or have more clients?
Yes, to some degree, because we're doing more screenings.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that would be one way of looking at it from that angle.
And a follow-up to Commissioner Nissen's question, there's probably some inflationary adjustments too from year to year?
Yes. You know, the Department of Human Services has lots of magical formulas that they utilize, but that would be some of the basis of that, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and a third question on that same topic. Can we assume that part of this increase is also due to the mental health challenges faced by children during the pandemic?
Yeah, and I think that we are going to continue to see an increase in those needs, even above and beyond what this contract is looking at. I can just speak from the children's mental health. I think I assigned 6 cases last week and have a few more sitting on my desk. And so I think we're going to continue to see that across the board.
Unfortunately, I think you're right.
Yeah. And so some of the nice things about this funding, though, is that to be able to then provide some services to help with those needs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the health screening contract with Health and Human Services, right? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Corinne.
Thank you. And this will be a dockside that'll come through
Electronic.
the state electronic.
Okay.
The email will notify you when it comes, yep.
So we have time for an update from Commissioner, or from Jenny.
Good morning again.
Good
As long as we have a couple minutes here, I thought I would just update you on where things are at with COVID. That seems to be a hot topic again. We've had the holidays, the Thanksgiving holiday, and now we're approaching other holidays. So I just wanted to share with the public kind of where things are at. So as of yesterday, we in Candioi County have had a total of 9,815 active positive COVID cases. We unfortunately have had 108 deaths related to COVID in our county. And as of yesterday, we had 303 active cases. Our current positivity rate is at 21%. It's been hanging around 20, 21, 22% for the past probably 4 weeks. So it's been pretty high. It's the highest we've seen throughout all of COVID. We are working hard with Caris Health. We're in good communication with them. We have weekly calls to see what our hospitalizations looking like, what are their testing numbers, is there any additional needs from us at Public Health. Right now, they do have a number of inpatient COVID cases. They're also seeing an increase of individuals who have been fully vaccinated ending up with COVID and being hospitalized. So that has kind of been a change. They're seeing, increasing numbers of that. They're testing, they've got testing 7 days a week, curbside testing, and also through urgent care. There's also testing available at multiple pharmacies throughout the county. So at this time, we at Public Health do not feel that there's a need for us to entertain assisting with testing, but that's something that we keep on the table and are always open to if we need to start looking at that. Last week, we went into a couple long-term care facilities and we've done some boosters on site. We're still holding a weekly vaccination clinic. It's actually here in the multi-purpose room at the Health and Human Services building every Wednesday. And then Caris Health is offering the vaccine at any routine visit that you have. They also have scheduled vaccine appointments a couple days a week. And then the next couple Saturdays, they're going to be holding a full day vaccination clinic where you can get your flu vaccine, your first or second dose of COVID, and then also the booster. So that starts at 9 a.m. We have been in touch with the schools again. There's been some school transmission, so we're in touch with all the superintendents and still have that open line of communication if there's any needs from us to either one, go out and vaccinate children, or two, be a support if they're seeing some increasing transmission cases across the students. We're also still in communication with our communities of color. That's another area. We did that on-site vaccination clinic downtown Wilmer. However, we have not gone back to offer boosters, so that's something that we're trying to figure out how we can get into our communities of color to provide the booster vaccinations. Our coronavirus corner, that's still a really good area for anybody who wants additional information. That goes out every 2 weeks. It's posted on our website. It's also posted on our Health and Human Services Facebook page. Also, the Minnesota Department of Health has a plethora of information, so I would really encourage anybody, if you've got questions or you're looking for guidance, to check out the Minnesota Department of Health webpage. We're in kind of the preliminary hearings of that new variant, the Omicron variant. We haven't had any calls with the Minnesota Department of Health regarding that, but we will make sure we stay on top of that. Again, just for everyone to be aware, the vaccine is approved for anyone 5 and older, so children 5 and up can get the Pfizer vaccine. We at Public Health have not given the Pfizer vaccine, so that's where we're in partnership with Caris Health. They're doing the majority of vaccinating of the children. We at Public Health have Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson are approved for anybody 18 years and older. If you received your first dose of Johnson & Johnson, they are recommending a booster 2 months after your first vaccine. If you had Moderna or Pfizer, they're recommending a booster 6 months after your second dose of either vaccine.
Any questions for Jenny regarding the COVID discussion? I have a couple.
Sure.
Last week it came up in a conversation I was in about the rapid test, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and is it COVID? Is it just a cold, or what is it? And and people don't want to miss work, they don't want to miss school. Are rapid tests readily available, and can you tell us where they're available, and maybe even if there's a cost?
Sure. Yes and no, they're readily available. Locally, I know that I've heard Walgreens has them available. I did hear last week someone tried to go in and they were out of them. So again, I don't know how readily available they are. Otherwise, Caris Health in Paynesville, they offer the rapid test. So again, you can go to that clinic and get the rapid test, but that's the only two places locally. They are harder to find.
And how rapid is the rapid test?
You get your results within 15 minutes.
Okay.
And there's also some over-the-counter tests now that you can get, and we've had, I know of people that have done that and gotten their results too, very quickly. And I think that costs around $20, $30, something like that.
So the other question or comment I have is, you and I were part of a conversation earlier this week. There's so much stuff that's out there. Who's qualified, when they get the booster, what ages? It's all rather confusing, and there's a lot of upticks in schools, obviously, and some people are looking at the opportunity to use the upcoming Christmas break as a break to time to sort of get some vaccinations in place, do a clinic, and hopefully come back after the break with a reset. And as part of our conversation, we identified awareness as maybe the biggest issue. Is there a way that if we're going to do a campaign, that we have resources available for making people more aware of it? Maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Sure, yeah, so that's something that our team at Public Health really struggles with all the time, is what type of messaging is the community looking for? What kind of messaging will be received, especially at this point in the game? It seems like there still is such a divide between those who trust and believe and are interested and want the information, and those that it doesn't matter how many times you'll tell them or what you'll tell them. If it comes from public health, if it comes from their best friend who's a physician, they still are not going to opt into the vaccine. So yes, we do have some funds that we can dip into at Public Health to try to do some more marketing and working on messaging. That's also another thing that we work closely with Caris Health, and they do messaging, and we try to do joint messaging. And we've also brought some of that conversation forward to our health and medical team. Again, we've had a longstanding partnership with the health and medical team in our county, made up of many different key players that have something to do with this COVID response.
And again, just as a reiteration, perhaps, we, meaning the county and you, Public Health, have a willingness and ability to go to businesses, schools, whatever, but we're not taking the lead on that. We're going there by invitation, and we are going to work with the entity to collaborate on the best results we can possibly get.
Correct. Yes, that's where if anybody has a need in the community, you definitely can call our public health office, 320-231-7800, and get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to work with any businesses or any entity that's looking for vaccinations. Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Lippert? Do you have anything else you wish to share with the board?
Just a reminder for everyone, we're getting into the cold and flu season, so now is the time that we need to be wearing your masks if you're out and about next to individuals. Try to social distance, stay home if you're sick, get tested if you're sick. Make sure you practice good hand hygiene.
Thank you. If there is nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting of the Kaneohe County Health and Human Services Committee.